So this next activity we call the grumpy jar, and it's a really great way to help the children to really manage their moods and to get out what's bothering them and put them aside and really deal with it in a sort of final way. So all we need for this is some kind of clear, see-through either jar or bottle or anything that the children can see through.
Anything with a lid.
Yeah. Pop in some water and maybe some kind of oil so that the things will float a little bit easier and not sink to the bottom straight away. And then there's a couple of ways of doing this bit is that the children can have some glitter or some sand in their hand, and this becomes a visual representation of whatever's in their head that is really making them grumpy or making them sad. And they tell the sand or the glitter what's their problem and then put it into the jar. The other way of doing this is if you think the children might end up losing the water, spraying it around, throwing it around a little bit, then it could already be in there with the lid on and sealed with some sellotape or some glue, and they just tell the jar what their problem is. So depending on what level the children are at, you might have to just change that up slightly. So once they've got their glitter or sand or whatever it is, their grumpy thoughts and feelings into the jar, they then shake the jar and set it aside. And then this jar is going to be going mad. They'll be swirling around and they can see that this is what's happening in their brain. Their thoughts, their feelings are all swirling around and really causing chaos in their head and in the jar, and they can really see that. It's a really great way to represent it. And then we give them some really lovely breathing techniques to do. And you can have the breathing techniques on the wall next to the jar so that they can follow that. You can talk them through it if you need to beforehand so that you understand this breathing. And once they've done their breathing techniques, they can then look to the jar again and they can see that it's starting to settle, and their brain will have started to settle too. Their thoughts, their feelings will all be settling down. And if they still feel a little bit anxious or a little bit upset, they can do it again. They can do the shake, they can do the breathing again until they feel ready to then rejoin the group again. And it's just an absolutely lovely way to get whatever's bothering them out of their head and where they feel it's now somewhere else and it's gone from them and they don't have to worry about it anymore. It's a really lovely way to do it.
I also know that once you've set up this activity and the children are used to it, the grumpy jar can be in the corner of the room. And this is a really nice way for a teacher to kind of monitor what's going on in the classroom in the morning, because they might find that little Jack might be running along to the grumpy jar straight away every morning and having a good old chat to the grumpy jar, and thinking, actually, we might need to take Jack to one side and see what's going on there. So it's a really nice visual way to see, who's happy, who needs a bit more of a chat or just some advice on something. It's just a really nice way to help the kids to manage their own emotions, but for you as a teacher to monitor what's going on in the classroom. I love the grumpy jar, it's fantastic.
There's also an idea where there is a grumpy table, if you like, where the grumpy jar is set at a table maybe off to one side. And if children aren't working well as a group, or if they're a little bit anxious in their group, they can take themselves off and work on the grumpy table, and they can get the jar going, work there a little bit until they feel ready to take themselves back into the main group. And that can be often a nice way. And again, you'll be able to see that and see, okay, we need to have maybe some intervention here and find out why that child can't work at that table. But it's just a really nice way for them to be able to let those feelings out and get them out of their own head and hopefully managed and dealt with.